What's up, guys? So today we have a coding challenge called find the odd int. So basically, given an array of integers, find the one that appears an odd number of times. There will always be only one integer that appears an odd number of times. For example, 7, which appears only once, that one time is an odd number. Same thing as 0 appears only one time, that one time is an odd number. Here we've got 2, which appears only one time, that 1 is an odd number. And we've got here 3, which appears 3 times, which is an odd number. And if you don't know, an odd number is a number that cannot be divided by 2 and not have, for example, decimal points and things like that. So if a number if 2 can go into a number and leave no remainders, then that number is even. If 2 goes into a number and there are remainders, that number is odd. Okay, so you get the gist of it. So for us to solve this challenge, the first thing I want to do is just to create a helper function that's going to help me count. For example, given an array, I can count how many times an item appears on it. So as you can see, my function here, get appearance count, we're giving it a number, right? And then we're giving it an array. And once you give it a number in an array, it must tell you how many times the number you're passing in appears in the array giving n. Okay, so we want to return the filter, right? So we're going to filter through the array that you're giving us by the number that you're giving us. So we're going to say to the filter, give us all the items that are identical to the number that you gave in, and only those ones. So meaning this array, for example, if this was to, let's make an example of this. So if this was the array given and we gave it 0, it would basically filter out all the ones and make sure that it gives us a small array with only zeros in it. And then once we have that array, we can just basically say, okay, give us the length, and then we return that back. And this is basically the whole purpose of this function, is we give it a number, an array, and it can tell us how many times that number appears in that given array. And that's basically it. And then in here, we basically want to create a loop. We want to loop from 0 to the length of the array. So basically, we want to loop through all the array items, if you can get me on that. So all the array numbers like 1, 2, as we go on. Okay. And then we want to say, we want to go and get the count, right? For example, we're looping through the first array element, which is 1. We say, okay, give us that 1 and that array, pass it in there, and tell us how many times does 1 appear on this array over here. And if that number, for example, is 3, and then we use modulus on it, then we will have a remainder, meaning this is not going to be 0. Then we know that, okay, this is an odd number, therefore this is what we want. Then we can be able to return that number, basically, right? So that is basically it. So if I have to explain it again, is, okay, get me how many times does this number appear in the array? If that number appears 2 times, that's going to be even. It's not equal to 0, we don't return it. But if it doesn't, if it has a remainder after 2 goes into it, or it's an odd number, then we can return that number. And we can go ahead and test. And the test should pass, and we can go ahead and attempt. And all test cases pass, and we can actually just submit.